I'm gonna redo the setup of the room that I showed you in Photoshop, but I'm gonna do it on the actual paper now, go through the measurements and re-emphasize how to use the tools. So we have a 19 by 24 piece of paper. It needs to be in a landscape format. We're going to measure a 1-inch border on the top and sides and a 2-inch border on the bottom. This T-square that I'm using, remember it doesn't start at 0, so I'm going to be careful when I'm measuring that I'm measuring from the 0. I'm going to do this in pens so you can see it better. You should be working with your 2H pencil, so nice light lines. If you start to make a mess when you're doing perspective, it gets really problematic. That's one of the reasons I wanted to show you me doing this with the actual tools, so I can show you some of how to keep things clean. So with that one mark there, I'm going to now flip the T-square and make a line here. You should be holding the T-square tight. You'll notice mine wiggled a little bit because I wasn't holding it tight. So make sure that while you're using it, you're holding it down tight so you get a nice straight line. And it should be really hooked up, like really hooked up on the edge, so you get a nice straight line as well. And I'm going to come back and do the same thing on this side. So I pull it really tight to the edge. I put my pen on the thing, slide the T-square up to where it's at. Go up there, then up top. I'm going to flip and put that on one of the inch marks, measure down 1 inch. Flip this sideways, pull it tight. Make my border there. And then on the bottom, I'm gonna count up 1, 2, make an inch it, mark it 2 inches, get the T-square on there, pull the line across nice and tight. The horizon line is going to be 6 inches from the top of the paper, so I'll put whatever inch up there and then count. Well, actually, you can do, 4 inches from the picture plane. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4 inches down from the top of the picture plane. I'm going to put a line all the way across. Remember, I want that going all the way to the edge of the paper, so my horizon line creates my diagonal vanishing points where it runs into the edge of the paper. Now I'm also going to get a mark at 12 inches in, just a little tiny dot on the horizon line, and that's my central vanishing point. So I have my central vanishing point, and then out here is going to be my diagonal vanishing point for trick number 3. Along the bottom, it's got to be right on the picture plane. It can't be below or above it. Right on the picture plane, I'm going to count every 2 inches. 1, 2. Make a mark. 1, 2. 1, 2. Make marks every 2 inches. And that should get me right over to here. And I'm starting from the corner of the picture plane when I count. I'm not starting from the edge of the paper. So I'm putting here, starting here and counting 1, 2. Same thing, I'm going to go up the edge of the picture plane, starting in that corner. And I got to make these marks right on the line, or else none of this is going to work. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and keep going. If you're doing it right, that should bump right into your horizon line as well. And then there should be 1 mark. I'm going to get my head in the way here so it can be accurate. There will be 1 mark above it. All right, that's the basic setup of the paper. Now to get the room in, I'm going to do this lighter in pencil, and then I'll darken it up in pen as I go. I want to show you a bit of how to keep this clean though. So I need a long ruler, so well, this T-square is long enough. here's a tip that will help. When I'm connecting 2 points, I see a lot of people sit and they'll look at this point and they'll put the ruler on there and then they'll twist to try and get it to line to this point and then that one moves. So what I would do is always put my pencil on one of the 2 points. I'll do it on the, normally I wouldn't do it on the vanishing point because I don't want that to get cluttered and dirty. But I'll put it on one of the 2 points and then I can rotate. That doesn't go anywhere and I'll rotate and then I connect the line. I'm trying to keep my arm out of the way here, but normally what I do is I put the point there and then rotate. The reason I do that is I want the vanishing point to stay clean. So I know my lines need to head towards the vanishing point, but they don't need to connect to it every time. That will keep the middle of the paper cleaner. We're going to be erasing a lot of that stuff anyways. And then make sure you're holding the ruler stable. I was, again, trying to keep my arm out of the way, so I'm a little bit wobbly. And you should be doing this with the 2H. Trying to do it a little bit darker so you can still see it. But notice I'm not going all the way back to the vanishing point. That means I'm not going to get a cluster of lines back there and I'm going to be able to continue to see the vanishing point. So what I'm doing right now, remember, is I'm basically putting in what would be the lanes on the floor. We want to work on one surface at a time. So I don't want to start working up the wall yet. Those 2-inch marks I put on the left side of the paper, those are height marks up the wall. So I've got the lanes of my floor in. Now I need to determine the depth back. So I'm going to go, remember trick number 3, I'm going to go to the diagonal vanishing point. And my T-square is not long enough to get all the way over to the corner, so I'm just going to go to whichever one of these lines I can comfortably get to. Now, here's another place that I keep it clean. I could draw the line all the way from here to here, but I know I'm only looking for information on the floor, so I'm just going to make the line from here to here. That will keep it clean. Then every point where that line, remember trick number 3, diagonal vanishing point to an opposite edge, opposite corner. Everywhere where I have one of those, I'll do this in pen now because these lines I'll know for sure are going to be there. Everywhere where those cross over, it's a horizontal line. And you're going to get 15 of these back. Be careful to not skip any. People skip them and all of a sudden things get pretty weird. Notice I did trick number 3 just that one time so far. I didn't do it to each one of those. Some people get themselves in trouble with that too. It's not a bad thing, it's just more work than you need to be doing. I'm trying to be careful with when I stop and start. I went pretty far on a couple of these, so I need to be I'm trying to rush for the sake of this video. I need to slow down a little bit. All right, I'm gonna need 15 of these back eventually. I don't have that yet, so I'll just do trick number 3 again. This is good, trick number 3. Now I can get to the farthest one. I lost my pen there. Okay, now I've got a number of them back. More of them back. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I would keep going. I'm not going to do the whole room. I'll go ahead and stop this at 10. So the one I'm doing here is going to be a little bit smaller, just for the sake of time. All right, and then I could erase that out. Let me grab an eraser real quick. Okay, this stuff up here is now irrelevant information. This is going to be covered up by a wall. So that's why you don't want to do too much work up there anyways. You're going to get rid of it. And I'm trying to make sure that I see this as a room and as a floor. Now what I'm going to do is try and finish the walls and the ceiling. So I'm going to connect from here to the central vanishing point. Again, not going all the way, and connect here to the central vanishing point. Then from the back left corner, I'm going to make the wall going up. I'll go ahead and do this in pen now. The wall going up, that stops where this line connects to the vanishing point. Same on this side. If I'm being really accurate, that will connect there as well. Go ahead and connect these corners. Oops. Be careful, don't be quick and sloppy like me. And I wouldn't do any of this in pen until you have the whole drawing done. I'm just doing this so you can see it more clearly. All right, then we need to project the grid onto the wall. So I'm going to go back here, everywhere where one of these horizontals touches the wall. These are depth back. This is 1 foot over, 2 feet over. Say this could equal whatever we want, but I'm going to say feet. 1 foot over, 2 feet over, 3 feet over, then 1 foot back, 2 foot back, 3 foot back. So this was 9 feet back. Now we're going depth on the wall, 8, 7, 6, I think, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 feet back. Then these marks that we made here are heights going up the wall. So I'm going to go 1 foot tall up the wall. I'm going to stop at this back wall. Don't do any more than I need to do. I know that these are just on this left wall. So I'm keeping my paper clean now. Make sure you get the one above the horizon line as well. There's one up here. And please don't put your pen on the vanishing point like I'm doing. That's going to leave a dark mark there. All right, so I have this whole wall. Now each one of these just turns the corner and comes straight across. So these are height lines up the back wall now. I'm going to do these ones in pencil so I can do some drawing over here. And these lines all, you'll connect the point where this touches the right wall to the vanishing point and come back forward through space. So these are still height lines. These are just height lines on the right wall now. Let me slow down here. When you're actually doing this, you should be very careful about really making sure this point is right here. Really making sure this lines up. And being careful. If you're going quick and sloppy like I am, just trying to fit this into a 20-minute video or so, you can cause yourself problems. So go a little bit more slowly than I'm going. More careful. These are going to go up. Pretty simple at this point. You're just completing corners or completing edges, basically coming off making sure every point has 3 edges coming off of it. These will all go up. Raised a little bit too much there. Okay, then the ceiling, same thing. These will just connect across. My pencil is trying to get away. These will connect across. If having the T-square on there doesn't get you straight across, I would just go ahead and line up the 2 points instead of worrying about having the T-square make the perfect line for you. You can fudge it a little bit. But you'll see the way that this goes back, across, and forward, and the way this goes back and up and forward means that I don't have to measure up the sides to find these measurements. I can, once I have the bottom and the side measured, I can just trust the grid to make the rest of the marks for me. Okay, so, well, let's go ahead and put these in too real quick. Yeah. See, I told you those little knobs are going to get in the way. Better to cover them up. And if you want like a smaller tool, you can use this triangle. I'm going to show you in just a minute how to use the triangle for something else. All right, so I have my whole grid basically. Now the point of the grid is that I'm going to say each one of these we know for a fact is a square given the points that we've chosen. So I can assign them a spatial unit and then just count really easily. So that I'm going to put in that first box that's in here in your diagram. When you're doing it, I would suggest putting, actually I'll go ahead and put in the bookcase since that would be the first thing I would suggest. So the bookcase, if we count, is 4 feet back, 5 feet tall, 1 foot wide, and 5 feet deep. So I can just count here. This is 1 foot back, 2 feet back, 3 feet back, 4 feet back. Okay, then at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tall. So this point here is 4 feet back, 5 feet tall. That's just 4 feet back on the floor. This is where the triangle comes in real handy. If I don't have the triangle, I'm just going to have to measure out to this point and then draw a line out and then draw a line up from the floor and see where they meet. If I've got the triangle, I can go ahead and put my T-square at 4 feet back, 5 feet up, and I can put my, so anything that's against the wall, 4 feet back, 5 feet up would be there. And then I'll project it out a foot. And then I can just close that shape off really easily without having to make this extra longer line. As soon as I've got that, I'm going to go ahead and, again, don't be doing this in pen. You should be doing this all in pencil. I'm just doing it in pen so you can see it better. So I'm going to erase that out. I've got the front of this thing. Now I'm going to count in from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more back. And along here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more back. Notice that this would connect here. You could do it that way. I could just count here and then go down and over 1. And then I'll connect these. Basically, if I connect this point and this point, it should get me right to the vanishing point. Anyways, go ahead and close this off on the floor. Now you see I got myself in trouble because I was drawing in pen on the back wall. But basically, I would erase this out. In mine, because I didn't do as many feet back as yours, my bookcase would be covering the back wall. And then I could just use the triangle and the T-square again to go up to here, over to there. These points would come over, back to the vanishing point. This would come straight over to create the little cubby. All right. So that's pretty much how anything in this gets placed in, is you count it in and you triangulate on it with a point on the wall and a point on either the ceiling or the floor.